My friends, welcome to this episode of the Outdoor Gear Review. The conditions that I'm out in right now, they're rough. It's about 40 degrees Fahrenheit, it's windy, it's rainy, and there are some big storms on the way. Last week, folks, I filmed a video about the Fjallraven Wind Sack 3. That is an emergency shelter. This is part one of the testing. And for this trip, I am going to push it to its limits. I need to know what this shelter is capable of, what it can handle, and what it can't. As it stands right now, it's raining, the wind is blowing a good 15 miles an hour, and I'm making my way down the mountain. Once we get down to the bottom, we will set up the wind sack, and we will get ready for the storms that are coming in. The wind sack is designed to protect you from wind, snow, and rain. And I cannot wait to see how well it performs. The wind sack is a rather interesting product. It's a 3-person shelter. You can use it as a tarp, or you can get inside of it to get protection from the elements. After looking around here, I'm going to take the shelter and I'm going to tie it between 2 trees. That way I can get inside of it and have full protection. So this is the Wind Sack 3, roughly 1.5 pounds, 3-person shelter. Let's set it up. All right, everyone, I have the wind sack all set up. Now, for this setup, I did more of a shelter. You can see there, I've tied it out so that I have quite a bit of space on the inside. So I have enough space for myself and also the camera. Unfortunately, the wind sack doesn't feature as many tie-off points as you would hope it would. So I had to create some, and I did this very easily. I took a little bit of cordage and I put it on the inside of the product. Then I tied it off on the outside and then staked it out. This is a very easy, simple solution. You can do this with tarps, with rain flies, any sort of fabric you can do this with, including like plastic sheets. A fundamental rule to survival is adaptation. Adapt with your gear and the conditions. Whew. All right, so inside of the shelter now, and that's what this is. This is a shelter. This is not bad, everyone. At the top, we have 3 vents, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to go ahead and open these up. Get some airflow in here. The loadout that I have for this trip is basically what any day hiker would have. I have a stove, a little bit of water, some coffee. I had the emergency shelter, some stakes, some cordage that go along with it. I have a fleece jacket and some other odd and ends, but that's about it. Basically, anything that you would carry with you on a day hike, that's what I have with me. Since I have a chair with me, I think I will go ahead and set that up now. And while I do so, I will tell you all about the conditions inside of the tent. The first thing that you notice when you get inside of this is that this blocks the wind 100%. Even though I have roughly, I don't know, about 8 inches at the highest point, 3 inches at the lowest from the ground here, it's blocking all the wind. But yet, I have some good airflow coming in at the same time. Next, it is quite a bit warmer in here than it is outside. So, that is pretty nice. The next thing, of course, is that it's dry. I'm staying dry. Those are my initial impressions. The biggest thing that I want to answer with this trip here is just how waterproof is this? An emergency shelter has to be waterproof. It has to protect you from the elements. So that's what this episode is all about. We're going to determine whether or not this can handle the basics, wind and rain, before we take this out into the snow. As you all can hear, the winds are picking up, but as is, I'm perfectly fine inside of this shelter. Very comfortable. There is just a little bit of a breeze, and that's because I have this so high. If it was really cold and it was snowing, that's when I would want to lower this. But as is, I'm perfectly comfortable. The sun is about to go down here in the mountains, and that's when the biggest brunt of this storm will be coming through. So, they say that thunderstorms are possible, rain up to 1 inch. It will be a good test for this shelter. What do you all think? Will it be waterproof? How well will it perform? Comment down below. What my plan is for the wind sack here is to make a 2-part survival series. So the first part is rain and wind. If it succeeds, I will take it into the second part, which is all about the cold and the snow. So let's see together just how well this performs. Well folks, some time has passed since I saw you all last. As you all can hear, it's still raining, and it has been for like the last hour and a half. It's dark now. Things are about to really pick up. It's about to get nasty outside. There is a huge wall of rain and storms coming this way, and this is the beginning of it. So I've been inside of this for quite a while, and being able to set this up like a shelter, that's a smart move. If you were to just simply break this out, hop into it, and use it for maybe 20 minutes, that'd be fine. But if you were in a situation where you had to get in this for like an entire night, you would want to pull this out because condensation is an issue. Think of this material as like a tent fly. So there is condensation building up on the walls. So the less contact that you have with it, the better. It is nice and warm in here. I would say there's got to be at least a 15 to 20 degree difference between in here and outside. The truth is, I could probably take this jacket off and be perfectly fine with just a t-shirt on. It's that warm. Before it gets real nasty outside, I think I'm going to make some coffee. Also, I want to do a quick test here. I have a lot of ventilation inside of this shelter, and because of that, I want to fire up this canister stove real quick. I want to do a quick burn, not only to heat up my water, but I want to know what a 20 to 30 second burn does to the inside of this tent. Does that trap and hold in a bunch of heat? I mean, we have the vents open. It's also lifted up from the ground, so I'm thinking of it from a survival standpoint. Let's say that you were out in a snowstorm. It's super cold out. You have your clothing from your day hike, and that's it. What would a little stove like this do for the inside of this shelter? So I've had this stove on for about 20 seconds, and it's unbelievable how hot it is inside of this. Whew, gosh, it is so freaking hot in here. That is unbelievable. Coffee time. Cheers, my friends, cheers. As far as the conditions go outside, right now it's probably about 38 degrees, something like that. It's not bad. Inside of this, it's got to be at least, because of the stove, 40 degrees warmer. Even minutes after the stove was running, I was sweating. It was that hot. So, that's pretty impressive, really. As far as this shelter goes, to use this for like one of those emergency situations where you're out all night long, it takes a little bit of work. You really would want to pull this away from you to make sure that you're not coming into contact with the wet walls, because that could be deadly. It is starting to come down, folks. So far with this trip, it's been pretty light, but it's definitely getting heavier. It's been a long duration light event, but now it's just full on raining. So far, there's been no leaking inside of this shelter. Before you put your life in the hands of any survival shelter, you need to know a few things. How does it work? And does it work? Those are super important aspects that you need to know. And that is information that I'm learning thanks to this trip. Now, one aspect, folks, that is super nice is that with the right setup, you can stand up inside of this. So let's say that you have a chair with you, or maybe you're sitting on some snowpack. I mean, you could stand up when you need to, stretch your legs. That's really, really nice. This is the Wind Sack 3, and this really is suited for 2 people. I mean, 3 people in a pinch, 2 people really as far as a survival emergency shelter. There's enough space in here for 2 people comfortably. You know, it's funny talking about survival shelters for a second. If the companies who made those products actually took them out and actually used them, they would make products that are much, much different. This has a time and a place, but it's not perfect. But it could be. If you want to be a millionaire, right? All you have to do is design a good, high-quality emergency shelter, and it wouldn't take much. You could start right here with this sort of form, make some alterations, and you would have a product that would fly off the shelves. It certainly doesn't need to cost $150 like this does, but it certainly would not take much to make a good product. Well, folks, it's leaking from the vents, unfortunately. And it's one of those things where there's absolutely nothing that I can do to stop it. That's a shame, really. For an emergency shelter to be a good shelter, it cannot leak. It has to be waterproof. Fjallraven says this is to get you out of the wind, out of the rain, out of the snow. No, that's wrong. As you all can see there, the vent is 100% closed and rain is still making its way through. There's no point of hopping into this in, say, like a rainstorm, a thunderstorm, if you're going to get wet. It really does defeat the entire purpose. So as it is right now, there's just water streaming down the walls here. I'm disappointed, but I'm glad that I'm here. Thanks to the testing that I've done with this, I can look past the marketing BS from the company. Again, this is not waterproof, this is not suitable for the rain. Coming up in a few days, we will do the survival overnight trip with this product, with a very similar loadout as to what I have here. We will be out on the trail together, far from home, and I will show you all how to survive. Yeah, very interesting, everyone, very interesting. In this sort of setup here, as a shelter, I can sit here in the corner and I'm protected. It's dripping over here, no big deal. But if you were not able to set this up the way that I did, you just simply had this laying on your body, that water, that rain, it would just simply be falling on your clothing, and that's unacceptable. So as far as a survival shelter goes, an emergency shelter, it's not capable of keeping you dry. And that's the most important thing to keep in mind. Right now it's raining fairly good outside, but it's not a downpour, it's not super heavy. When there is a possibility for rain, I still recommend going with a tarp. That is the best setup. It's super fast. You can set it up in a million different ways. Getting this out into the snow will be interesting. Maybe it will do well, then again, maybe not. Who knows? My review of this product will be coming up in the future. I have more testing to do. But everyone, that pretty much wraps it up for this trip. I am going to stay in this for a long period of time. I basically have all the information that I need. That is everything that I needed to know with part 1 of this trip. So next week will be part 2. We will take this out into a survival situation, and together we will put it to the test. Cold, snow, wind. A message for Fjallraven. The company needs to change the wording on their website for this product. You cannot use this in the rain. It is simply not capable of keeping the individual or individuals dry. I don't want to see anybody get hurt using a product like this, so Fjallraven, make some changes. If you have enjoyed this episode and found it interesting, hit the thumbs up because it does help. I appreciate you all, folks. If you want to support a channel that is agenda-free, you could do so through Patreon and here on YouTube. The Outdoor Gear Review is not about selling products. It's about information. It's about teaching and education, and that's all. Everyone, be well, strength and honor. Talk to you again soon. Bye for now.